Hi everyone, I'm very excited. I've got my new YoraHome 3018 CNC router / carving machine, and I got it all put together, tested it, works great, love it. Cannot wait to start making some really cool designs. I want to do this video. I thought it would be a good idea to show everyone exactly what I do when I get all of my machines. And I personally think all of these steps that I'm going to show you are imperative to getting your machine up and running and assuring that everything is running properly. So I disconnected all of mine, unfortunately, but I did. And so I have the manual in front of me. It's version 1.2. And I'm going to actually start at part 2, where it says mechanical installation. At this point, hopefully you have your machine completely put together and the circuit board on it, but nothing wired yet. And I'm going to walk you through the wiring because there's a little bit of confusion to me in the actual manual. And I'm not sure if it's just an overprint or what it would be, but you have your stepper motors here, and you probably can't see stepper motors, and this is a little bit confusing. So basically, I'm going to walk you through exactly that, understanding your different axes on there, and we'll actually go through installing the driver, getting it up and running it, and moving the machine around and testing it. So before you do any cutting, any carving whatsoever, it's imperative that you do these steps and make sure that it's running correctly. So I'm going to switch you over. Well, before I do, I'm going to switch you over to the machine, and let me change my resolution here. I'm probably going to pause and unpause from time to time to assure that we are doing this correctly. Also, before I move on, this site that I have up, the 10 things you need to know about using your YoraHome 3018, I would definitely recommend after this video to checking out the different things on this page. It's right on the YoraHome website, and it's very good information. So I'm going to enlarge this here so we can see. So what I've done is pretty much I put tags on here. This is your X-axis. So your X is left and right, your Y-axis is up and down, and then your Z-axis, is up and down. Y-axis is kind of up and down this way, and then your Z-axis is your spindle moving up and down depth into your machine. If you can see, I'm going to move it up here so I put labels on there for you to see and understand that anytime anybody talks about the different axes here, it wouldn't hurt to maybe put a piece of tape on yours, write it down. It doesn't hurt, just as I did. So with that being said, I would recommend having this, of course, obviously all this done, turn it around. And I don't know if you can see, but since this is your Y-axis, I put a label for my Y motor. Since this is my X-axis going left and right, I put a label for my X motor. So you can see that here. And then also for my Z motor. And I would recommend yourself as well doing that, just so that you can have a really good understanding, and if anybody asks you a question about your motors or whatever, then you'll know. Plus, it's really good for what our next step we're getting ready to do is the wiring. So one thing I want you to see is in the manual, it shows you here the different steps of wiring, and I was going by this and I got a little confused. I think it was just a print mess up here. And so we're just going to ignore this for a minute, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do. If you look on my screen, I have an image that I got from the YoraHome website, which I'm going to put in the comments. And this is exactly what you want. We have the Z motor here, the Y here, the X here, and then you have your spindle plugged into here. And this is very, very important. A lot of people may have, motors running the opposite way or whatever, or not doing what they're doing, and we're going to walk through exactly what we need to do with that. So I'm going to enlarge this again, and I want to show you a couple things here. Let's see if you can see this. Maybe not. zoom this in and just change this real quick so you can see this here. Let's see. Let's see, can you see now? So I'm not sure if you can see that. There we go. So do you see the labels there on the top three connectors? You have your Z-axis, your Z motor, your Y motor, and your X motor. So that's really important, and we're going to walk through that. And now that they're labeled here, and you'll notice also that I have them on my actual motors, so we pretty much, hopefully, cannot go wrong. I say hopefully. Okay, my camera's going to flash real quick. Give me 1 second. Here we go. So, what we're going to do is you've got some wires with your machine, and as you can see, let's just go for example here. We have these wires here. I'm actually going to turn this light on. Let me see if it's any better or worse. You'll notice that one of the ends have, there's actual 2 spaces in those. There's actually 6 plugs on that one, and then there's 4 on this one. The smaller end goes on to your control board, and the bigger ends go on to your motors. So just keep that in mind. And there's 2 little slots that actually plug in. So I'm going to work my way from the right to the left, and we said this is our Z motor, remember? And if you look on my screen here, I'm going to if you look on the screen over here, you'll notice the Z. So that's really important. So we're going to plug in here for the Z motor. Just push it in, 2 little slots up top, and then we're going to plug it in up top here. Same way, it only goes in one way, so be careful. Plug it into the Z motor. So now we know we are plugged in specifically to the right one that we need to be. We're going to do the exact same thing for the Y motor. We're going to plug it into the control board, and I would recommend just doing one at a time. This is the Y motor. It says it right on it if you look at it. And then again, so we don't have confusion, I labeled mine here, the Y motor, so we will plug it into there as well. And now we have those 2 connected. We're just going to keep them out of the way for the moment. Get my other wire here. And again, just to reiterate here, you have 2 separate ends. One's larger than the other. The large ones go into the motor, and the smaller ones go into the control board. And this is going to be my X motor. And again, they're labeled. And then this is why I put the labels on here, so there's no confusion. And we're going to plug this in there. So now we have all 3 of our motors connected. They're right. I don't recommend cleaning this up just yet until we actually test everything for sure. So one last one is the spindle motor. So the next plug here is your spindle motor, and you're going to notice you're going to have a red and a black plug, and then this plug here. And this part is important. So I always recommend, well, let's do it this way. So we're going to take this here and we're going to plug it in, and it just snaps right in. There's a little clip here, so if you ever have to take it off, you have to push that clip down to remove it, and then push into it clips. So I'm going to turn this around so you can see a couple things. I'm actually going to turn it sideways, kind of like that. So make sure you don't get any wires on here. So when you put your motor in, I don't know if you can see it or not, but if you look on here, one of this is red. If you can, oh, you can see it. So that's red. So that's where the red wire goes. That's important because this is a DC powered motor, so there's always a plus and a negative. If you do it the opposite way, it either won't work or will run the opposite way. But so you'll see the little red dot here. Yours may be over here or wherever it may be, but wherever that red dot is where your red wire is going to go. And the easiest way to put these on is kind of just put it on, make sure it, and then go left and right until it snaps in. Same thing with the black one. See if I can hold this up here for you. Here, and then, whoops, so I missed that one. I'm going to get it right in the middle, click, and then just like that. So you have the red where the red dot is, and then the black on the other side. And that's it. So, let's go ahead and turn it around. Make sure we don't have any wires. We're going to get it set here. And I recommend turning this gear, or turning the shaft down bottom here until that's about in the center, because we're just going to move a little bit. Same thing with this. Just turn it until it's about in the center. Making sure all the wires are out of the way. I don't want you to clean them up yet, because what we're going to do is we're going to test this. And if for some reason something's not right, then we can just, make whatever changes we need to make. But at this point, you should have this all put together, understand your x-axis, your y-axis, your motors, specifically Z, X, and Y motors, and your z-axis, and you have your spindle connected. So I'm going to pause it for a second. Okay, so now let's connect up the USB and the power. So you have a power adapter that came with it, and we're going to plug up the power to it. And I'll go ahead and turn around and show you. It's pretty straightforward. Actually, first I'm going to do the USB. There's a little spot here you can see for the USB, and I'm going to plug in my USB cable. And I'm also, I'm going to do this here. I'm going to unplug my laser machine. Use that one at the moment. So I'm getting confused here. And get in. Whoop, my bad. And then you also have your power that came with it, and we're going to plug that into the board as well. Now at the very bottom of the board, down here, there is a little power switch that needs to be turned on. Not the black one, but the white one. But which we can go ahead and turn on. And you should hear the fan come on and the red light come on here. If at this point you do not, then you need to check your power connection and maybe start back over and go through any configurations that we may have missed or anything like that. But I now hear the fan on, the red light's on, and we're going to just, let me have a little corner here, do some tests. So, I think I accidentally bumped the table. Okay, so now that we have that all wired up, hopefully there's no questions. If there is, and if something does not look right, please start over again and just double check all your connections. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink this down for a second here. I'm going to, again, I think I'm going to paste a picture of this image in the comments just so everybody can have it, because that is the specific one you need. So let's start with your USB drive you got from YoraHome. You should have gotten a USB drive in the box, and you need to put it into your computer, and this is what should come up. At least this is what came up for mine. So we're going to go to the machine driver, and then we're going to go to the CH34 install Windows, which is what I have to be using. And you're just going to double click. You're going to click yes. If it comes up and asks you, do you want to allow and make changes, you're going to say yes. And that's why my screen just went blank. And then you're going to click install. I'll go ahead and do it. It's going to do its thing. I'm going to shrink this just a little bit here. And it should say success. And then close it. And then I would just click back on this one here. So, one second. Okay, so now that we've installed the machine driver, I'm going to just tell you a way to find this here, whether you're using Windows 7 or 10, shouldn't really matter. So if you go to your start button, what we want to do is go to Control Panel. If you have Windows 7, you probably should have Control Panel right in front of you. Either way, if you just type in Control Panel, CONTROL, and it probably should be popping up by now. If not, just type in the whole word Control Panel. And so we're going to click on it, and when it comes up, even in the Windows 7, you should have a search box up here. I'm using Windows 10. And just type in Device Manager. So what we're going to do is we're trying to find out what COM port the machine is now on. And we want to go to Device Manager. And when it comes up, we're going to go down to COM ports, or ports, COM and LPT. And you're going to see the our USB serial CH340. And whatever COM that is on is one we need. So in this, on my machine it's COM 7, yours maybe 4, 5, maybe whatever, but just take note of exactly what it is. If you do not see this here, unplug your machine, as you'll see I'm getting ready to do. You notice it's not there, and then unplug the USB, and then plug the USB back in, and give it a second, and you should see it pop up. So take note of your COM port. Mine's COM 7. That's all we need to know. So we're going to close this, and we're going to close this. And so I'm going to, let's just move this out of the way for now. So the next step we're going to do is let's set this up in Easel, and we have to run some tests to make sure that we're wired correctly, make sure that machine's working, because the last thing we want to do is not do any type of tests and functionality and have someone get hurt or have something not work right or just completely mess up our wood. So go over to inventables.com. And there is some information in the manual for this. It's really good information. We're going to be using Easel, and I'm going to walk you through setting it up. If you have not created an account yet for Easel, you'll have to do that first. Go ahead and pause this and then come back. But if you have, go to Easel, and it will say Explore Easel. And if you have not created an account, it'll come up right here and ask you to create an account. And I already happen to have one, and I happen to be logged in, so I'm going to click on it. And if you have not created an account, you're not to screen, go ahead and pause this video and do that first until you come to the screen. So now that we're here, we want to test the machine before we do anything at all. We need to set up the machine in Easel. We need to make sure everything we have is correct and go from there. So let's go to Machine and set up your machine. And it's immediately going to come up with hello Tony, blah blah blah. We're going to want to download our driver for whatever we're using. I happen to be using Windows. There is a driver on the USB key if you need it. Yes, it's there. I would recommend, if you have to install that, great. I would recommend doing it from the website, just in case they have a new updated version. But either way, I'm going to do it from the website. And so we're going to say download. And if you'll notice, it's downloaded over here. And then once it's done, and for you as well, if it doesn't show up down here, you have something different, a different browser, then just browse to your downloads folder and run the file. And so I'm going to click open we're just going to double click on the file. Again, a screen is going to come up and say, do you want to allow it to make changes? You're going to say yes. And then you'll get this screen here. Let me move this over. I'm going to click install. And it installs all kinds of goodies. Apparently lots of goodies. And there it is. So we click finish. And if everything works properly, you'll notice your screen in the background now should have changed. It should have switched to the correct but obviously recognizing that you have the device, or that you have the machine plugged in now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the machine type, and we're going to use other Gerbil. And it's going to open up a bunch more options, and the second one we're going to use is, where is it here? Did I move past it? Do-it-yourself, the 3018. The next option we are going to do is the Arundel and G-Shield, and then the rail size is the 500 by 500, and the lead screw is the M8 threaded rod, and the spindle is other, and the max spindle speed is 9,000. And that should be, I'm going to leave that there for a second so you can see my settings, and that should be exactly what you should have for your machine. And as it says, you can always change them later. But so then click confirm settings, and it's going to attempt to recognize your machine. For whatever reason, every time it has not been able to recognize mine, which is great, because then I can show you what to do if it does. If it does recognize it, great. If it doesn't, which for whatever reason it doesn't find it on mine, I'll walk you through exactly what to do. It's very simple. So we'll click cancel. So if it did recognize it, then you'll be able to move forward. If not, as you saw, it said click cancel, and then click back to Easel. And then once it comes back, you're just going to choose any untitled project, new or whatever you want to do, just so we can get back to this main screen here. When we're here, what you're going to want to do is go up to this left and right arrow here, or the four-way action, and click that, and then go to troubleshoot. Once it comes down, make sure that we've chosen other Gerbil, do-it-yourself 3018, and here we're going to enter COM port in manually, and this is where where you would choose your COM port, and you can type it in, or you can choose. Just put in 7 and then click OK, and then you'll notice this here now turns green. Hopefully, if you did not turn green, then click on it again, click troubleshoot, and put in your COM port again. And if it does not still turn green, then what you're going to want to do is start over with this. Make sure that you have the driver installed. If for some reason it still doesn't work, maybe just power cycle your machine. Come back into Easel, and then go back into clicking this and put in your COM port in manually. Okay, I had to pause it for a second there. So before we even start into that, I want to show you some key settings that you just want to double check. So go up to machine, make sure still that it says other Gerbil, and then the 3018. And we're not going to do set of machine, we're going to click advanced. And then here we're going to go to your spindle control. We want to change to automatic, and the default RPM is 9,000. If it's not, yours doesn't say 9,000, go ahead and put 9,000 there. And then we're going to click machine inspector. What this does is this is actually reading from our controller. If this does not come up, then we don't have a good connection. Your carve did not turn green, and I would recommend stopping here and starting back over again from this. And if you have any trouble with the drivers like that, please contact the YoraHome support. Great guys, great support, and everybody's there to help you. So keep scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down to settings. These are really important. I'm going to leave mine up on my screen so that you can see what I have. Most of this is default out the box. You may notice a little bit of differences with yours, and I'm going to show you how to change them. So what we're going to do is, I'm not going to go and bore you with all these details. I'm just going to give you the main ones that are really important that I've taken from the YoraHome support team, and to assure that you're going to get a good cut. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come down to number 32, and if you do not have a laser module installed, you want to make sure that 32 equals 0. And if you do have a laser installed, then you could put 32 equals 1. And your spindle speed here, 30, is how fast your spindle is. So if yours does not say 9,000, all you need to do is type up here, come up to, I'm sorry, where is it at here? Come up here to the console, and you're going to put, we're going to put $30 equals 9,000. Oops, 9,000. And then, sorry, if you could see that, and then we're going to hit enter. And that's it. So when you come down, mine still says 12,000. You're just going to click this little refresh right here, and it's going to refresh all your settings, and you'll notice now it says 9,000. So that's how you change any of these settings if you need to change them. So if your 100, 101, and 102 is not 800, I've seen a couple people have 102 being a different number, like 320, and I'm not sure why. And I'm just going to show you real quick. Let's just say, hypothetically, we're going to go $102 equals 320. I know that's incorrect, but I just want to show you something. So let's say, hypothetically, your 102 says 320. Well, that's not going to work because that is a this is going to keep all of your speeds of all your 3 axes in uniform. And so what we're going to do is, if yours is different, any of these numbers, so again, it's number 102, and we want it to be 800. So we're going to go all the way up top. In the command, we're going to go $102 equals 800. And we're going to come down, and we're going to click the refresh, and you'll notice now 102 is 800. 110 and 111 need to be 1,000, 112, 600, and so on, as you can see in my settings. Later on, you can customize these if you choose to, however you want to do it, but I would definitely go through this, and then, as in the manual says, you might want to highlight these, drag and drop your mouse, right click, go to copy, and paste them into a notepad like I did here, and then just save this. And these will be your default settings, and I'm sure anybody in the group will help you as well. But again, look at my screen. These are the settings that you're going to want to have. Ensure you do all of these first. We're taking all of the steps before we even attempt to cut anything. We're going to make sure everything is correct. So just go ahead and scroll back up to the top, and just ignore all this other stuff for now because we don't have limit switches yet. And we're going to close that out. So now that we've done that, this still should be green, and we are going to click on the left and or the 4-way here, and we're going to move our machine around to make sure that it is working. So I'm going to enlarge my screen here. How much more I can get out of here? Let's see. Here, let me do this. Let me put it over here, and then you can see my machine a little bigger. Here we go. So a couple things. The interval here is how far it's going to move. So keep in mind something. If we now tell this, if your machine is not in the center here, and let's say it's all the way over here, we're clearly not going to want to tell it to move left because it's going to run right into the wall here. Same thing here. That's why I recommended moving this to dead center, and the same thing here, just so we can move it around a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave this on 0.1 because we don't want it to move far before we know what we're doing. And then we're going to click the left. We want it to move. We want it to jog left, which is on the x-axis, and you hopefully will be able to hear mine. So if you notice, my head is moving to the left, which is exactly what I want. And then we can click to the right, and it's moving perfectly to the right. Again, if yours did not do that, stop right here, check the wiring, check everything that you need to check to make sure everything's correct. If it does not still, then it sounds like there could be an issue, and you can definitely contact the support. So I am going to push up on the y-axis, and it is working, and I'm going to click down on the y-axis, and it is working. So one thing I want you to notice though is don't get confused with up and down. Even though you click up, this moves down. That's because the bottom moves, not the top. That's all it is. So when you click down on the y-axis, you'll notice this moves up, which simulates this moving this way, which is actually going down on your board, and that is correct. That is exactly what you want. If you click down, this goes down, it's wrong. When you click down, you want to, I'm gonna do it while I'm holding this. If you watch, it's actually going down the board, and that's exactly what you want. So we now have the X and Y. I'm gonna move it back up to the center, and we're testing it all. So now we're gonna move our Z-axis. Mine happens to be more up than down, so I'm going to start with going down because we don't want to jam this into the top here. So I haven't moved it, so I'm just going to move mine down. So I'm going to, if you see on my screen, click down, and if you'll notice, the head is moving down, which is exactly what we want. And now we're going to see if it'll go up. Perfect. So the reason why this is super important is because we now know this is our x-axis, this is our y, and this is our z. We've got everything wired correctly, just like we wanted to. We've now tested the x-axis, we tested the y-axis. When we click down, of course the bottom goes up, but it simulates the cutter going down, which is very important. We also tested the z-axis. So now when we go to cut, we know this machine is going to do exactly what we want it to do, and that is super important that you take these steps first. If for whatever reason any of this did not work or is not correct, unplug all the power, turn the machine around, go over the wiring, just double check everything, double check your motors are plugged into the right one. Don't forget, this is your Z motor. If you're looking over here, this is your X motor, and on the very back is your Y motor. Okay, so now we're just going to do a spindle test. And let me shrink this down. I'm actually going to put you on pause until I get my machine straight. Okay, so we're going to test our spindle. I much prefer testing the spindle to make sure it's working before we go through all of the legwork and making everything, your design and so forth. So we've got, excuse me, our y-axis, x-axis, the z, everything's working good. We know it's moving, everyone do. So now let's make sure that we have the spindle wired correctly. So the easiest way I found to do it is if you go back up to a machine and you go down to advanced. We're going to come down to machine inspector. And here's a console. If someone ever says to you to send a command in your console, this is where you're going to do it at. And in this example, I'm going to, let me just do, here, I'll just put it here real quick. Just so you can see it, I have it on my screen here. You probably can't see it there. Whoops, my bad. See the S5000 M3? This turns on your spindle at 5,000 RPM. You can do 1,000 RPM, 9,000 RPM, 5,000 is a good medium, 4,000 is fine too, and then M5 turns it off. So when you put this command, let me see if I can move it over a little bit. When you put this command in the box here, it's going to turn our spindle on. So I'm going to go ahead and put S5000 M3. And you probably heard my machine come on, and yours should come on well, and it should be running clockwise. And then if you type in M5 in the same console box, it should turn your spindle off, and it should not be on now. So let's do another test. Let's go S1000 M3, and you should see it spinning a lot slower now. And this shows that we do have the variable speed settings set up. It's responding to it. And I'm going to do M5. And it should turn it back off. So now that we know our spindle is working. You can close the screen. And again, if you want to, these are all my settings from 0 to 132, how you want to do the spindle, and how you turn it off. I'm going to put here, and this one, there we go. So I'm going to leave this up here for a second for you to see, and I personally am a freak about double checking everything again, and I'm going to check one more time, my left and right. You're more than welcome to do it with me. Come here. I'm actually going to move 1 inch to the left, 1 inch to the right. I want to click down, and so again, your board needs to be moving upward to simulate the cutter going downward. I'm going to go up, and I'm going to move my spindle down because I'm pretty close to the top here. I don't want it jamming in, so I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go back up. For the Z-axis, it might not be a bad idea to just keep it 0.1 so it doesn't move so far. But as you can see, it's moving exactly how I want it. So that's pretty much it. I hope that helps everyone to get started. Now you know everything is working properly with the machine. Your spindle's working, your left, right, you have an understanding of your different axes, and I am totally excited to get started with doing some really cool materials, some really cool cutting, and I'm going to definitely be doing some more videos on some really cool projects that I have in mind for this. I hope this helps everyone. I hope that now you can feel confident that the machine's running exactly the way it's supposed to, and I'll probably be doing some more videos on the different cuts and so forth as well. That's it. Have a great day. Jungle.